Hello there. Once again, this is Anton from Anton Will Obey. Thank you for taking a few minutes to stop by the toy room and look at some of the nerd stuff that we all love. And that's why we're here. Today I'm looking at the Gambit miniseries. This was, let's see, what year was this? I'll have to open it because I can't remember. But it was one of the early years, probably the first year I was buying comics and getting into comics. And where is the year? It's in the fine print, I'm sure. 1993. All right, so 1993. Issues were $2.50 a piece. At least the first one was. I guess the rest were $2. I remember I saw the last issue on the newsstands, issue number 4, and I bought it. I did not know that it was a miniseries, didn't know what a miniseries was, just thought, oh, it's the guy from the X-Men video game for Sega Genesis. My favorite one, the one with the coat and the stick, and he throws something and it makes a cool sound, and he was my favorite. Before I even knew the X-Men, Gambit was my favorite. That's just how it goes. That's why by default, Rogue became my favorite X-woman, because it's Rogue, Gambit Rogue. I've already looked at the Rogue miniseries, and this kind of goes back in time because this is essentially a prequel, and that is a great shot. Big first page. That is a beautiful, big shot page. But this is a prequel to what happened in the Rogue miniseries. So this happens quite a ways before, I think like a year before the events in that. And this was just a really great miniseries. It, of course, has your other X-Men kind of get involved. I always appreciate how these two seem to keep an eye on them and follow them from a distance and see what's going on. But the series rotates heavily around Gambit being drawn back into the Thieves Guild and the Assassins Guild. And a bunch of stuff goes on with that. His brother gets killed, Jean-Pierre. And it's a good series. I wasn't originally wild about the whole French Quarter thing and all the accents and everything, but it really grew on me, and it really just became something I love. So this has a guest spot from Gideon. That panel there, his hair is just absolutely insane. And of course, it has a lot of Rogue action, and we all love Rogue, so let's not pretend we don't. We are in love with this fictional Southern woman. There you go. The art in this series was great. The story was great. The dynamic between Gambit and Rogue was great. Once again, I did notice this as a similarity. In Rogue's miniseries, she's always wearing that bomber jacket, and I was like, oh. And then the one cover, she loses her jacket, and I'm like, you really look a lot cooler with the jacket on. I thought the same thing with Gambit. I was like, wow, that's what your shirt looks like? You should keep this. You should keep the jacket on. I'm not wild about your weird black and pink shirt thing that you wear. Why don't you just keep that coat on? And I always thought this was weird. I didn't know he was married, of course, and Belladonna, his wife. But yeah, I was like, man, you need to keep the coat on. You just look a lot cooler with it. Oh yeah, look at that. That's a beautiful page. Let's see, 93. I would have been 12? Yeah, huh. Gosh, can't believe I was ever 12. I was born in 81, so yeah. If my math is correct, which I'm not going to check it, I would have been about 12 probably when I stumbled into this series. Good stuff. He who hesitates eats Mylar. Okay, I know this is not like a big flashy page or anything, but what assassin, you dare? I always thought the Tithe Collector was like really creepy and mysterious, and I wondered if he had any powers, and I don't know that he does. I never did learn if he has any powers or not, but it was just a thing. And as much as I love the series, I did not read it as much as I did the Rogue series. I've read this maybe 4 or 5 times. So, where the Rogue series, you know, probably more like a dozen. Read this thing like a dozen times. I do think the Rogue series is better. This is just a couple years older and it falls into a different, less colorful, less glossy. There was a different era here right before the Rogue series. Just looked a little more toned down. And then you get into the Rogue series and some of the stuff that was going on in X-Men, and the books get way brighter. You had Joe Madureira get in there and start just painting really vibrant colors and stuff. And this, yes, it's vibrant, but it's also fairly muted in a lot of ways. You want to get down to it. It just has that gritty 80s look. They like went back a couple years and grabbed. A little bit grungy maybe from the early 90s. But beautiful, beautiful shots. We're gonna put these back up there. And that's quite the cover. I always thought that was a great cover. Can't even read the name. Gambit. The hell is Gambit? This is such a classic, iconic thing for a superhero to do. Sit on the top of a steeple. Mega Man X is an awesome game, by the way. I just I've been listening to some of the soundtrack to it. I've been really appreciating it. If you ever watch my montage videos, maybe a couple of the soundtrack elements from that game have made its way into the montages. I tend to really enjoy using old video game music, probably more than anything. Yep, he charges up the Tithe Collector's coat, sends him flying out the window. I remember they finally kill this guy with lots of arrows. And it turns out he's like really nasty looking. It's like all bald and weird. Chandra, the Eternal. Use the elixir to bring Belladonna back to life, just so that she can hate him and, yeah, once he brings her back, she's the big villain in the Rogue miniseries. This whole end scene I always thought was great. The thief, the traitor to all, so goes the legend of Gambit. This is the cool, mysterious Gambit that we all loved. A lot of things happened to him later years that made him a lot less cool and a lot less mysterious. And didn't Marvel do that with everybody? We did that with Wolverine. We had to go through and they had to ruin everybody, and in my opinion. So yeah, that's why I quit buying new comics in about 2000. But anyway, this was a great series. I absolutely love it. I love it to this day. That's why I still have it. I thank you guys for taking the time to stop by and check these out with me. That is my story. I will catch you guys later. Bye.